Alright, so I thought I'd do a review on these stones. I've used them for quite a bit now. I think it's been probably like a year and a half, maybe. I used to use, and I still do actually. So I have videos on this too. So I use just like a steel plate with sandpaper is what I usually use. But I've been using these a lot now. Um, so just to get this out of the way, these are spyderco ceramic stones, and I have the whole set. This goes from medium to fine grit to ultra fine grit, and these are the little plastic cases it comes with. Um, there's not much to say about stones, I guess. Okay, so yeah, I would recommend them. So right off the bat, I would recommend them, but it depends too. So let's say, okay, what I use is just regular. I mean, basically all the knives I use and I have used to use this sharpening system or whatever on are have all been around 60 Rockwell hardness. And if you have the same thing, so if you have like CPM 3V, um, Vanix, LC200N, S35VN, that kind of stuff, O1, all that stuff. So if you have just like those steels in general in that area, then I think these are perfect. These would work like great. The pluses on this is that they don't on these kind of stones is that they cut better than well. There's no real comparison with these stones and aluminum oxide stones. If you're using something with that kind of hardness on an aluminum oxide stone, it's gonna take you a really long time to get an edge, and you'll end up dishing out the stone like pretty quickly. These they cut really well for the grit they're supposed to be, and this guy being like around 800, they cut really well, but they don't really dish out except this guy, and I'll show you in a second too. So these two are basically the same as when I bought them, dimensions wise. This guy did dish out a little bit, and I'll show you right now. So see this guy, there's like no gap. And let's see this guy. Let's see the gap. And I don't see that as a negative. I don't see this as a negative because the amount of like work I got out of this stone so far. I mean, it's still perfectly fine, but the amount of work I've gotten out of this stone has been it's been a fair trade. Let's put it that way. And there's ways of like sharpening a knife that you can get everything even, just by using the edges, just remembering to use the edges more. I just don't like doing that, but I mean I could if I want this all just even. But like let's say, all right, if I would recommend it for all those situations, but if you have something like Maximit or I don't know, like Rex 45 or K390, like if you have like a crazy steel that's like really high on hardness, then it's gonna take you a really long time to you can still do it, but it's gonna take a really long time to sharpen your knife. At that point, I would just recommend like diamond stones. You can still do it on this, but I would recommend diamond stones for that. The other thing too that I found is if you want to do like let's say even if you have knife steels that hover around 60 Rockwell hardness, and you have like a ding or a chip or something like that, if you want to do edge repair, it takes a long time too because this thing it's supposed to be 600 grit, but it's a really around 800 grit, so it takes a really long time to repair an edge. So same thing, if you're gonna repair an edge, I would still recommend a diamond stone instead. So just for just regular maintenance, I mean you can still do it, but it's just gonna take you a long time. But if it doesn't happen that long, then yeah, once again, these are fine too. And so in the end of this video, I'm gonna put I'm gonna sharpen a kitchen knife the way I sharpen it, and so in reality, like let's say here's another thing too. Let's say all you want is just a working edge. If you just want an edge just to like, I mean, you can still cut everything and it'll still be really really sharp. You can cut tomatoes with it. You can cut branches with it. You can basically do anything you want. In reality, you only really need this and just a piece of leather, and I'll show you how I do that in the end. But if you want something that's like super razor sharp and can shave and has basically close to a mirror edge, then you can use all these and get that kind of edge. And I'll show you a knife that I used all these stones on. I'm not gonna sharpen. So I'll use this stone just to sharpen a knife. I'll show you how I sharpen it. But I already have the other knife prepared that I use all the stones on because I just thought that would be like super boring just sitting there using every stone. So yeah, in general, yeah, they're good stones, and I would recommend them, but with those sort of caveats. Okay. So this knife, it just has wear basically, so I don't have to work it that much on the stone for it to get to where I would need it to be. So it just shouldn't take that long. This stone, one of the differences too from this one and the other ones is this one actually absorbs water and the other ones won't. It shows you kind of like how compact the ceramic is, the difference. This one has enough pores and spaces in between the ceramic that it allows water to actually seep through. So I'll start. And actually this is it's a Vanex knife, so it's Vanex and the Rockwell hardness is 60 Rockwell hardness. So I'll just put water on it and I'll go over it right now. Shouldn't take too much. In the end, I'll compare it to a knife I did. I did use all stones on, and I used a leather strop with compound on it. So I do this, and then in the end, it's just basically burr removal. So this is one of the things I do to try to get rid of the burrs. So before I use the leather, I'll show you how this cuts paper. And when you use paper, I like to use, well, when I use paper, I like to use thinner paper. So if you use something that's a little bit thinner, a little bit more flimsy, it tends to show you imperfections and stuff on the edge than like computer paper. Computer paper is a little bit easier to cut. So the thinner the paper, the harder it is to cut, the easier it'll show you the imperfections. It's pretty even except for, no, it's pretty even. It is a rough cut. It is a rough cut, but so that's without the leather. And this is just a regular piece of leather. It doesn't have any compound or anything like that. The only thing you want is you want it to have a very fine grain. You want it to be, you don't want it to be shaggy. You don't want it to be like loose. You want a quality piece of leather basically to do this. Well, the piece I use. Also, if you have compound on your leather, that will wear at your it will remove some material off your blade, so there's a chance of you rounding out your edge if you use compound. But in this case, I'm not using compound, so I can do this, and it doesn't really matter. What I'm basically trying to do here is the burr that's at the apex of the edge, I'm basically trying to move it back and forth until it fatigues and just snaps off, basically. So this edge is sort of like a working edge. It's something that you can use for like cutting onions and tomatoes and stuff like that. But so it won't shave, but it'll last longer than something with a mirror edge. All right, let's try it. See what's the difference. So a little bit smoother. Okay. And then last, so this is the flesh side. So the skin, excuse me. So this would be where the flesh side would be on the skin. I mean, that's what they call it, the flesh side. It's where the flesh end is. Yeah. This is basically where the hair would be. So this is the outer part of the leather. This is the flesh side of the leather. So after I use the flesh side, I'm going to use the outer skin layer. And it's a lot finer. There isn't really hairs or anything. And it just helps refine the edge just a little bit more. So like I said, it doesn't have any compound or anything. It's just a piece of leather. Okay. So you can hear it. I mean, it's cutting. It's nice, but that piece just flew off. Okay, but it's rough. You can hear that it's rough. So this in comparison to this other knife. So this knife, same thing, Vanex 60 Rockwell hardness. But this knife actually went through all the steps. So I did all the stones, and I used a strop with compound in it. So same paper. Whoop. So yeah, crazy sharp. But just from experience, a slightly toothy edge lasts longer than a really like refined edge like this one. This is sharper for sure. But in the kitchen, this will last longer. So I would recommend these stones if, one, you have something around 60 Rockwell hardness or higher. The second thing is, if you're gonna use your knives, the only thing I think you need is basically just the medium stone. If you want something insanely sharp, not insane, but very sharp, well, crazy sharp, whatever. But I'm using synonyms. I'm using the same thing. All right, so just Yeah, you can get all the stones, but they're expensive. It's gonna be like probably like $120 to get all three stones. If you just get one stone, it's around $50, I think. So something like that. It's been a while since I checked, but yeah. So I would recommend them, but just under those circumstances. All right. If you have any questions, let me know. All right. Bye.